February 10th, 2024, and we have a few news updates for you. We've got a market watch for the real estate market. We're looking at the Feds for January 30th and their updates for the rate hike, or did it go down, or did it stay the same? We also will look at a few other reports, including looking at some of the high-tech layoffs that we've been seeing in the marketplace. All that and more on the For Sale by Owner podcast. Here we go. Hey there, this is Steve Klein with the FSBO Smarts podcast, bringing you the best tips, tools, and techniques for sale by owner style so that you can save thousands of dollars on your next home sale. And also we're going to be talking about for sale by owner as it relates to real estate investing as well. So if you're interested in that, consider subscribing to this channel and this podcast. All right, let's get into this. So I know what you're probably thinking. What happened with the Fed anyway? What did they decide to do? Well, let's take a look. So from this Federal Reserve press release dated January 31st, 2024, we see that the recent indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a solid pace. The job gains have been moderate since early to last year, but remain strong, and the unemployment rate has remained low. Inflation has eased over the past year, but remains elevated. So they do see that inflation is still high. The committee seeks to achieve maximum employment and inflation at a rate of 2% over the long run. The committee judges that the risk to achieving its unemployment and inflation goals are moving to a better balance. The economic outlook is uncertain, though, and the committee remains highly attentive to inflation risks. So all of this is just a wordy way of saying they still feel like inflation could be a risk for the long term, and they want to make sure they can get it down under control. And so basically what the outcome of this is that they were not going to raise the rates. And that's evident here where it says, in support of its goal, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 5.25% to 5.5%. So what this tells us is that the interest rates aren't going up, but they aren't going down either. So they're pretty much staying stagnant. Now, this is interesting that they said that the unemployment rate has remained low, because we've seen a lot in the news lately of a spike in high-tech layoffs. Believe it or not, high-tech, which was basically the sectors that really upped the market, it's caused it to go down. So you're saying, okay, Steve, what does this have to do with real estate, right? Well, it's a big pool of money and funds, and it kind of is an indicator to how our economy overall is performing. And also it determines the rates. And with the rates, it determines how easy it will be if you sold your own home for sale by owner, or for that matter, if you had money to invest in real estate. So let's take a look at that. So this article is from CoStar.com, and it says how widespread tech layoffs could add more pain to the nation's recovery in the office markets. And basically what I was reading this, and I'll share it with you here, it just came out January 29. It says job cuts throughout the high-tech industry are adding another layer to uncertainty for U.S. office market, already contending with record high vacancies. Since the start of the year, a roster of companies such as Microsoft, eBay, Google, Instagram, Salesforce, and Amazon have collectively passed out more than 24,000 pink slips in a bid to manage expenses and reallocate capital expenditure budgets. Okay, so let me talk about this. That's 24,000 pink slips. That means at the beginning of the year or end of last year, these high-tech companies decided to say, hey guys, by the way, Merry Christmas, we're going to lay you off. And so these guys are either might have just bought a house. Maybe they just refinanced with that 2020 pandemic or 2021 pandemic. Maybe they're really skilled workers, but because of the economy slowdown, because people aren't out there as much and shopping, and just overall the high interest rates, things cost more. Goods and service cost more. People are cutting back. They're not out there spending as much. And so this is what I wouldn't say a recession, but this is what a downturn in the economy starts to look like. And so the good news is, you being a for sale by owner home seller, you are kind of above all of this because you don't need to get the top dollar for your house, right? Well, okay, I should say, I don't know what you need from your own home, but what I mean is that you have more flexibility. A lot of times a real estate agent will come in and say, no, you must sell your home for this price. And you can say, well, no, I need to leave right now. I need to get it sold. And if no one's going to buy your house, I've seen people have their houses, especially in a downturn market like this, houses up on the market for 6 months, 8 months, sometimes even a year. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? Because you're saying, well, Steve, I sold my house and it only took me 2 weeks, or I sold my house and my real estate agent sold it for me in 2 months. Well, great, good job. It's not always the case though, especially when markets turn south. Now, I've been there. I was there back in the 80s and 90s. Interest rates used to be around 13%, by the way. I mean, these interest rates you're thinking they're high, like, oh man, my gosh, it's 7%. 7% is nothing compared to what it used to be. And you always wonder, well, why are these homes back in the 80s and 90s so small, like 1,300, 1,600 square feet? Believe it or not, that's pretty good living space. And that's because the prices of housing back then, with the high interest rates, that's the only house you could buy. Now, can you imagine someone today trying to buy a standard 2,600 to 3,900 square foot home at the interest rates that they are right now? Could you imagine if they go up to 8 or 9%? These people can't afford that. So the bottom line is, they're going to either rent or they're going to stay in the house that they're in. So, but bottom line, the more jobs that are lost, the less pool of people you have to buy your home. But at the same token, the more flexibility you have being a for sale by owner home seller, and the more opportunities you have there. So let's continue. It comes as some tech firms say that they're shifting their investment priorities to focus on artificial intelligence and changing the calculus on how they value office space. Now, obviously, this is office space, and it doesn't really correlate to homes like where you live, but it does kind of give an indicator of where the market's going overall. So that's why I bring this up. So here's the interesting point here. The complete effect of cuts totaling nearly 440,000 positions since 2022. On-demand office space has yet to be determined as the market responds to other pandemic-related shifts, as the rise in remote and hybrid work. So it says here, the link between layoffs and real estate decisions have yet to be formally established. Regardless, corporate moves to slow hiring or eliminate dozens, hundreds, or sometimes even thousands of positions are expected to play a critical role in the national office market's slow slog to recovery. Now, here's the other thing. I was hearing recently that a lot of the shifts in some of these downtown areas, they were saying it's because everyone's working from home. And that's partly true, but partly it's because there's been a shift also in how crime has been addressed in some of these larger places, and people are just not wanting to go downtown anymore. And so I think things are starting to get better again. I noticed, I don't know if you guys do a lot of like dining out, but I remember when the pandemic ended, I went to a restaurant and it was slow. The service was so slow, and I want to say bad, but it wasn't bad. It was just that they were so slow to get your food. It was slow. They got some things wrong, and they were fumbling around getting our order right. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, but then what I realized is it's because they were at home so long. People forgot how to be effective and efficient. Now, once they went over this hump, I would say it was about 3, maybe 4 months, then they were okay again. Everything was fine. And so what it boils down to is the pandemic was like this hump that we had to get over. And you're seeing that in the job markets, the 440,000 people that have been laid off, the tech workers. Now there is a shift, you could argue that it's AI driven. Maybe that's true, but I think it's more economic and socioeconomic driven. And so I think once they kind of get over these humps and hurdles, we'll see some shifts happening again. We'll have to reanalyze it. But I think it's still, the good news is it's still good for us in selling our home for sale by owner, because it gives us the things that we need in order to, well, we have everything we need anyway. But the market, depending on how south it goes, if it takes longer to sell your home, you want to be in a for sale by owner position, because you don't want to have a real estate agent holding on to your property when you could potentially sell it yourself. And yeah, so we'll continue to look at this in our next episode next month and talk about other possible markets that are going to be affected, see how that affects our housing market. I'm going to spend a lot of time in this first 6 months of this year anyway on our podcast episodes being more market driven. And we're going to go over these statistics. I think it's really going to be helpful for us as we navigate the for sale by owner journey. And then probably in the middle of the year, I will be putting together more tips and techniques and talking about different various things that you need to know, especially in this market when selling your home for sale by owner. By the way, we are in the transition for our course. You might have saw it being pulled down. I've sent a few emails out. We're transitioning it to a new LMS system, a learning management system, and it'll be out here probably within the next month or two. So be sure to be looking for that. And until the next episode, I want to make sure that you live life to the fullest. So stay tuned for the new course updates. And if you want the checklist, be sure you go to FSBOsmarts.com. There's a link there, and that you can get your checklist. Also, we are going to be updating the course in a way, so be sure that you look for that. And we are going to roll back the prices when we relaunch. We're going to relaunch at the launch price that we did last year, or 2 years ago now. Wow, time flies. Or is it 3 years ago? We're reducing the price to when we launched it 3 years ago. So it's going to be exciting, and I'll make sure and send emails out when it's ready. If you'd like to sign up, make sure you go to our website, FSBOsmarts.com. You can get all the information there. If you found value in this episode, just make sure you like and subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, be sure you go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you in the next episode.